Hey, hello Wino community. I'm back with my first video in a while. This is a record I'm going to play for you that a friend of mine made. He has a group or project called Silent Land Time Machine. And I wanted to show you this before I put it on, since it's on a pretty translucent vinyl. I'm going to risk not cleaning the record first before putting it on here, so I can be fast. Here's the record. Again, this is Silent Land Time Machine. That'll be playing in the background. It's sort of experimental music. He does stuff with prepared violin and stuff like that. He also has a sort of a little cassette label here in Austin, Texas, that puts out experimental music in that newfangled cassette format that all the young people are excited about. I am not a cassette person. I had too many cassettes like wear down on me or break, etc., etc. I'm strictly vinyl and CD, although I have a weak spot for 8-tracks for some reason. Anyway, hopefully this will be noticeable in the background but not overpowering, and I don't have to worry about copyright BS because it's by a friend of mine. Let's see. Some of the stuff I'm going to show you is stuff that I think the cover's neat. Some of it's like my favorite music, and some of it is obscure things. That's sort of the game plan. Okay, this first one I'm going to show is my favorite Sonic Youth record by far. It's one of those things that, I don't know if I ever had the LP. I know I have the CD still, but I may have gone just straight to CD with this. I might have had an LP, I don't know, but I would have gotten this around 86, maybe 87, so maybe the CD was already out, in which case I probably would have gotten that. Anyway, Bad Moon Rising. And this is a limited edition that was on colored vinyl. I think supposedly orange. I haven't opened it yet because I don't know. Part of me wants to keep it pristine. I don't know. It's stupid. The whole collector thing is such a annoying thing to have to fight within yourself. But anyway, I love this record. This is great. Go to sleep in the summer while you're sweating off something. I don't know. Sweating off a drunk, sweating off a psychedelic experience. I don't know. One of my favorite records of all time. Just great guitars, melodies that are just... the only thing I can compare the melodies to are some of Hendrix's melodies, and that's not going to make sense to a lot of people, Sonic Youth and Hendrix, but there's some just really neat... going through such a noisy... washing machine of sound, sometimes they end up with these melodies that are just beautiful, perfect, and really simple. Something I really go for. Let's see. Speaking of which, not really, but sort of. I can't play guitar. I'm out of focus. I'm gonna see if I can bring myself back into focus. I have a musical project called Autistic Achievement, which I just want to say there are lots of other Autistic Achievement things if you do a Google search now, but initially when I had my musical project called Autistic Achievement, I was the only thing. Autism has become a much bigger, more known about thing, so thus you see a lot more actual autism things under the header of Autistic Achievement, but I'm on the archive.org if anybody wants to listen to it. Someday I'm going to put out a vanity release of my stuff. I need to re-edit it all from the original tapes. Hopefully the tapes haven't been, wiped away with a magnet or something in the past 20 years, because it's all music I made in the late 80s. But I'm happy with it in its own. I know you're not supposed to use the word retarded. I would never say that to a person who had developmental disabilities, but I think it's okay when you say it about yourself, right? I don't know. Anyway, I can't play an instrument, but I like to think of myself as an outsider. there has to be some benefit to being slightly crazy and depressed, manic depressive or something, I don't know. So I call myself, I only have 44 subscribers at this point, so I can call myself an outsider artist. Okay, let's see. This is one of my favorite records that is under known, Easterhouse. This had some critical acclaim when it came out in the mid-'80s. Even though this band comes from a point of view of, a idealistic view of communism, especially Lenin, maybe Trotsky too, I don't know. Obviously Stalin ruined communism for everybody, but sure, there are probably some inherent flaws. Obviously there's some inherent flaws with our system too. But anyway, very emotional vocals, I think. Just it's very soulful. So even if the songs often are about, and political music usually doesn't do a whole lot for me, but this, like, even if you don't speak English, and you just sort of mnemonically memorize the words and sing along with it, I think you'll find it soulful. Anyway, and this is something you can often find like in dollar bins. I have 3 copies of this record because I can't just let it go for $1. At some point I'll have to VCLT that to somebody who might appreciate that. But anyway, some really good stuff for $1. If you run across it, I highly recommend it. Songs are Out on Your Own. We can all relate to that feeling. Whistling in the Dark, 1969, Cargo of Souls, Lenin in Zurich, Get Back to Russia, To Live Like This, Inspiration, The Boy Can Sing, and Estates. Anyway, can't really recommend this highly enough. If you like a soulful, alternative, British rock, post-punk from the mid-'80s, check it out. Okay, now here's one of my favorite records ever, and I got it new, I think, when it came out, early to mid-'80s. I think it had just come out. I think the concert had happened a couple of years before that probably, but this I think of as being like a kind of a grail, although I found it, I just got lucky. It was in the record store and I knew I liked this group. The Sisters of Mercy, one of my favorite groups ever. To me, this is their ultimate achievement. I think First and Last Now Always is a borderline lousy record that really just doesn't capture the majesty of their group. I think the best Sisters of Mercy stuff ever to come out on vinyl is their initial EPs. They're fantastic. If you run across them, pick them up, especially the 12 inches, not the 7 inches. They don't have all the tracks. Especially, like, there are a couple that are like Temple of Love, long remix or something. Get the ones that have the most individual tracks on them. Those are the best. They're like mini albums, essentially, and those tracks are just awesome. If you need something after going through Joy Division and running out of stuff, it's in a similar vein. They use a drum machine that they call Dr. Avalanche, I believe. Anyway, when I got this, I think this is probably the first colored vinyl I ever got. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? This one's on blue vinyl. Just a beautiful record. This is a great concert. I believe it's a concert in England. Maybe not England. I forget now. But anyway, it's all their best songs at the height of their quality. This obviously is on a green translucent vinyl. This is one of those things that when I got on Discogs, I looked it up thinking, surely this is worth thousands of dollars. This is such a great thing and limited quantities, and I've never seen one come in used at a record store ever. And it's on Discogs, but it isn't going for the thousands of dollars that I feel like it deserves, but I'm never going to sell mine. Let's see. Here's something random that I picked up at a thrift store. I just thought it was sort of offbeat and thought it might be sort of interesting. This. Now, maybe someone might be familiar with this if they're a hardcore Lou Reed collector. And the reason for that is Lou Reed, apparently, I don't know if he was ever really in a group or in the context of like doing more sessions than just one track or playing live or anything like that, but there's a song called Cycle Annie by the Beach Nuts, which is Lou Reed distinctly Lou Reed's voice. The minute you hear it, you say, oh, that's him, all right. I believe this came out in '67, which is around the same time that Velvet Underground's first record came out. And supposedly he wrote 3 or 4 other songs on this record, too. It's not a great record, but it's really neat to hear that last track, which is on side 2, the last track, Cycle Annie, Beach Nuts, Lou Reed. Anyway, so someone may be wanting to, if you run across this and you're a big Velvet Underground fan and you like to have everything, you need this. Now I want to talk about records that you collect just for the covers. And I know that sounds really cheesy and stupid even, but I'm going to defend it by saying that my wife and I collect a lot of, I'm out of focus again. Collect a lot of, I won't worry about the focus maybe? Well, I want to show records, and those need focus. There we go. No? Maybe it will come into focus as I go. Let's see. My wife and I collect prints and art, and therefore, if I regard an album cover outside of the context of its music as just a piece of artwork, and it's cheap artwork too. I mean, a lot of times you can find a neat-looking album cover for $1. You know, why not pick that up? You know, and then if the record's good, then that's just a bonus. But there's so many really neat record covers out there, as we've all seen. Some cheesy, some just awesome. This, for some reason, struck me as a really neat album cover. I mean, it's not a great album by any means, but the album cover looked like this could be some neat, almost like space exotica music or something. Unfortunately, it's not that great, but it's a neat, I thought it was a neat cover. Here's another one I think is a neat cover. It has what I would say is one really good track. I'm showing my cheesy diversity here. This has Funky Town by Lips Incorporated. For some reason, I was struck by this album cover. Of course, I know that song from growing up. Funky Town is a big hit. I think this is called Mouth to Mouth. Yeah. Anyway, for some reason, I was struck by that artwork. There's one song I like on it. This is something I picked up recently. As I may have mentioned before, I'm a sucker for colored vinyl. And so I've also been wanting to pick up a Lenny Bruce record because I love Lenny Bruce. Although his comedy isn't necessarily as funny as some people I like my favorite comedian is probably Bill Hicks, although some of his stuff can be pretty harsh. But Lenny Bruce sort of definitely blazed a trail in terms of what comedy could be talking about. Because initially it was all, you know, just pretty lighthearted stuff and skits and stuff. And he took it into some heavier territory. Anyway, this is colored vinyl on the Fantasy label. It's beautiful looking. The condition could be a little better as far as playback is concerned. But my first Lenny Bruce record in my modern collecting era. I may have had other Lenny Bruce records in the past. But again, as I said before, as other people in the VC have done as well, there were times when money was tight or we were switching over to CD because we were told that was what you do. And so we don't have a lot of things that we used to do. Oh, it's so tragic. And I remember when I was selling my records, getting like $1 or $2 for them, which is just inhumane considering the same records go for $10 to $20 to $30 to $40 to $60 to $100 now. This is a record I listened to for the very first time this week. Hot Rats by Frank Zappa. It's a fun album cover. I had never been particularly interested in Frank Zappa because he struck me as like a jokester, and that, you know, sort of a humor that I found a little tedious, and maybe also that he just made sort of funky noise, which I didn't get into at all. I mean, so I'd heard just a little bit of his music and sort of judged him by that, which I guess is unfair because he has quite a body of work. And I'm sure there's some of that stuff that I'm pretty sure I won't like. But this is a really nice sort of experimental jazz rock record, ultimately. I mean, there are a couple of places where he goes into the funky humor thing, which I don't like as much, but it's definitely an interesting listen. And if you're someone like me who's been intimidated to sort of dip your finger into the swimming pool of Frank Zappa, it's a worthy place to start, even if you pick it up, listen to it on YouTube. It's so great these days, the way you can just check out anything on YouTube these days. If there's you don't need to waste your money, essentially. Try it out. I mean, the only time you'll waste your money is if you find something cheap at a record store and get it for cheap, and then turns out you don't like it, but then you didn't invest that much in it. I guess it sucks if you take a chance on something that's expensive at a record store and then you don't like it, but we should all be spending all our free time listening to tracks on YouTube so we get more familiar with stuff. Now, one thing that I wanted to do that I did not prepare myself for here, which I'm going to try to run and do, and it might not even work, but I'll be back in a second, and I'll turn up the music in the background here, and I'll try to finish this up pretty quick. Oops, the record is over, but I'm back. Okay, now, I learned about this recently on a thread on the VC, but then found some thread on some forum somewhere where they talked about this, so I'm hoping that this might show. There's a type of, see how you can see the light shining through this record? There's apparently a kind of audiophile grade vinyl called Quiex or something like that. And a lot of times it would be listed on a hype sticker on the outside saying audiophile grade vinyl. But a lot of times it's simply not listed. And there's this nice, again, forum somewhere where people talk about things that they find that happen to be on that form of vinyl. I'm a sucker for translucent vinyl. And even though these don't look translucent when you're just holding them up in a regular light situation, if you hold them up to any light source, you'll be able to see through them. And so there's a good amount of stuff. This is a Pat Metheny record I just picked up. This is on Geffen, but also some of the stuff on the ECM label. This Pat Metheny record also is on that kind of vinyl. So to me, that's just this wonderful surprise when you get a record and you're thinking, this will be fun, and then it has the added bonus of being on an audiophile grade vinyl, and it's translucent, which, again, I'm a sucker for color translucent vinyl. I'm going to leave you with this image here. This is another Exotica LP for those who collect loungy music. There's so many fun records to try, to play in your bachelor pads, to woo the ladies with, or to woo the men if you are a lady. Just tell a guy that you want to show him your record collection and slip him some kind of no, just kidding. Anyway, I'm going to let you people go with, here's the classic one, Martin Denny. Anyway, I can't leave you people. I miss you so. Here's a Russian record I picked up for the cover art. Anyway, thanks guys. Thanks for the new subscribers.